MovieWeb.com.
I wanted to start by asking you, Adam, the film really takes place right where the first movie finished, where it ended. So was that always sort of planned, that if you were to do a sequel, that the story would just pick up? Did you sort of have a fuller story planned from the beginning?
Yeah, the sequel was already planned before we made the first one, basically because with the genre that we were sort of trying to do again, and the idea of the unstoppable villain and the idea that there would hopefully be sequels, we wanted to set the groundwork so that there was actually somewhere to go and not just a rehash of the same movie over and over again. Because I think when you look at some of the 80s movies, I don't think they expected them to be the hits that they were, and then they kind of scrambled to try to figure out a way to keep going.
Right.
So with this, it was very strategic on how we did things. Even if they do a third one, that's already set up as well. So I'm glad that people are recognizing that and enjoying that kind of different aspect about the sequel.
Was that important to you to sort of have that full idea, so that if it was successful, you could go, rather than having, like you're saying, where, you're kind of just making up, new things?
It was really important to know where we could go with it, so we purposely held back pieces of Victor Crowley's mythology. We purposely ended the movie the way that we did, which some people loved how abrupt the ending was. They were just like, wow, they ended it where they should have. We didn't need somebody walking off into the distance and happy music. But other people were like, are you kidding me? And then they had to wait 3 years to see what happened. But I think it was a gamble, because first one, truly as independent as it gets, we didn't even know if we would finish it, let alone that it would ever get a theatrical release or come out or get the fan base it had. So I'm glad that it paid off.
Yeah, awesome. And then I wanted to ask you about casting Danielle and bringing you into the process and recasting the role of Maribeth.
Yeah, it was sort of becoming evident in the making of Frozen that if we were going to do Hatchet 2, we were going to probably have to go in a different direction with that character. And Danielle had actually auditioned for the first one and was one of the best auditions, but we already had so many people that were these huge names in the genre that we were scared that it was going to be just that. So we went with an unknown. And then I was casting for a romantic comedy, and Danielle came in to read for that and blew me away because I never realized how funny she was. And then proceeded to read every role in the movie, every female role. She was like, I like all of them, so I prepared all of them. And Offcourt, as a completely different character, goes through everybody, to the point that I didn't let the reader read with her. I jumped in to read with her because I was having so much fun. And from that point on, I was like, God, at some point, I gotta work with her on something. And then when we started thinking about making Hatchet 2, it was like, this just really makes sense. And it's always hard when you replace a pre-established character with a new actress, but when you go so much bigger and better, it's just, people got over it in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, pretty quickly, right? Well, how did you feel when you got the call from Adam?
I was pretty stoked. I was stoked because he sounded like a schoolboy that just lost his virginity on the phone.
I was out of breath.
It was prom night.
Smoking a cigarette.
Almost 2 seconds. So, excuse me. I was up in upstate New York filming Stakeland. He called me and was hadn't really talked about it with anybody yet, and just called and said, I think this might happen. I'm not really sure, but I think we can do this. And oh my God, if this happens, this would be so awesome. And I was like, dude, I'm so there. Whatever you need, whatever you want, I'm in. So you just let me know and know that I'm game.
Were you a little disappointed when things didn't work out getting cast in the first Hatchet? Were you excited
I didn't really know Adam that well.
Right.
So only now that I know him, I can kind of bust his.
And she does.
And I do all the time.
Be like, see, I'm the perfect one. Why did you just get me the first time? Well, how is it kind of coming in and taking over a role? Have you done that before?
The closest thing would probably be, I've done it a couple times on TV. I replaced people, really guest stars kind of stuff. I guess I did it in Halloween, Annie Brackett, but that was sort of like a reinvention. I think that's kind of how this is too, because there's really no similarities between Tamara and myself. So, it's and the stakes are raised in the second one. So I don't like I'm going back and getting to do her job all over again. I can kind of come back from a different approach.
Do you sort of just look at the character, fresh with fresh eyes and sort of original way?
Sort of more of what Mary Beth has been through.
Okay.
And then take it from there, and how I would react and how I would be if I had been through all of that.
Awesome. And you mentioned we do get to sort of see the past of Victor a little bit more, and there's sort of, we find out a little bit more about him and some darker stuff. Was that always sort of planned to kind of have that unfold in the future films?
Yeah, I knew what his whole backstory was, but in the original Hatchet, it was supposed to be the kind of quicker urban legend tale of like what every kid has heard in passing, so it's sort of the abbreviated version of it. But I like the fact that we didn't explain why he's deformed, well, like where his mother was, like why he's back from the dead. Is he a ghost? Is he a zombie? Like, did he just never really die? Because that gave us a place to go with the second one. Because when you get to the second part of any slasher thing, the fans are really fans of the villain at that point, which is also something that makes it hard for people like Danielle, because they know that the audience is rooting for the killer at that point. So how do you win them over? And it's been really awesome to see the final scene of the movie when she faces off and the audience totally turns in her favor and is just cheering. And it's great
Thank God.
to see.
Because if that didn't work, I'd be screwed.
And you got to work with Kane again on this film. What was it like, kind of reuniting with him?
He drives me nuts. He's just, he's a big baby. He kind of is a bit of a big baby. Kane's great. These guys are like my family. I mean, I literally am one of the guys. So I always say it's kind of like, you have summer break and then you get to go back to school and you're kind of nervous and kind of excited. And then after the first day, you're like, yay, I have the whole school year to play with these people. So that's kind of how I feel about working with them.
Awesome. And this movie gets a little bit more violent, right? We sort of upped the violence in this one, and the gore that's something that you just felt you had to do sort of for the fans to kind of...
Well, with any
up
slasher sequel, you got to try to up the ante a little bit. You got to go a little bit further. But with this one especially, I got really put through the ringer with the ratings board on the first one, very unjustly so. I think anybody who's seen it is kind of confused why that movie got an NC-17 when there's no sex, there's no drug use, and there's no realistic violence anywhere in the movie. So this time there was a lot of anger that came with that, and the kills are exceptionally brutal. So very bloody, but also it kind of just really, instead of just like chopping somebody, to take the blunt side of the hatchet and beat somebody's teeth in like 17 times, he hits him in the face to crush in his face. And the audience, when it starts, they're like, oh, great. And then it keeps going, and it goes from great to kind of uncomfortable to hilarious. So it's still good-natured. I think its heart is in the right place. It's all coming from a place of fun. But Victor Crowley is very mad because I was mad about what happened the first time. And the vindication of getting the movie released unrated this weekend.
Right. Well, I wanted to ask about it because AMC is going to actually show the movie unrated in their theaters, correct? Yeah. And that's like unprecedented.
Unprecedented. I think it's been about a quarter of a century since that's happened. But what's kind of interesting about it is this movie, I hope when people walk out they say, why couldn't that get an R rating? Because it should have gotten an R rating. Right. It's not rape and torture and depraved garbage like some of the other stuff that you're seeing now. It's totally silly and fun. But it's important to me because we stood up to them. They were going to totally go after us because we were independent. The cuts they were demanding were ridiculous and they would have ruined the movie, and we found a way around. So, I don't want a war with the ratings board because I will never win that war. They are much more powerful than I am. But I did get a small little victory here, and if the fans support it, it could change the way that movies get put out because everybody's watching right now. Everybody in the industry, they keep calling my reps, calling Dark Sky, how did you do this, and how is this going to work? And if we're only on so many screens, so you're not going to see a place in the top 10 of the box office or make $1 million. But if our per screen average is high, other people are going to start doing this, and it's just going to take their power away because it's just weird. There's no set standard on how they make the decisions, and studio movies get by with so much, and then independent movies just get like put through the ringer, and it's not fair.
Yeah. Oh, that's great that you're kind of like taking it to them a little bit in your own sort of way.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be funny though in like 50 years when you look back at cinema and they're like, what was the movie that kind of changed it?
It was Hatchet 2. It has to be.
It's not like a Lars von Trier movie or like some our Quentin Tarantino movie that really just like went there. It's Hatchet 2.
But you never know.
That's part of the joy of it.
I wanted to also ask you about Tony Todd because you kind of upped his role in this film a little bit too. Was that always sort of designed or planned, or did it just sort of happen that way?
I always knew that Reverend Zombie was behind a lot of this stuff. And whenever you can have an older, wiser character in a horror movie, it just gives you so much room to play with. So that's why when his part in the first one, he's only in it for one scene. And the producers were like, we don't really have a lot of money? Does it really have to be Tony Todd? Can't we just get anybody to do this? Like, especially because we didn't have enough money to fly Tony Todd to New Orleans. So that scene was shot in the woods. So he's in a flat in the middle of the woods where we shot the rest of the movie doing his stuff. And then Joel and Dion are in New Orleans with a body double over there. So they like weren't even there together.
That.
Yeah, because
cool.
that's how little money we had. But I stressed to them, I'm like, if we get to make a second one, this guy is like pivotal. So you don't just want anybody, you need a big character actor. And I'm so excited to see him be a lead in a movie again. It's been a long time, and he doesn't.
He's so good in this movie.
Yeah.
He's so good, and he doesn't get enough chances to be funny, to be so charismatic. He's always, brooding and scary and a cameo. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, awesome. And then finally, Danielle, I just wanted to ask you. You've been around this genre for so long and seen its kind of ups and downs and sort of change. What do you think is sort of the face of horror now, the state of horror films in general?
I think that they're forever changing. I think that we had the land of the remakes for a while, and now we're in the land of the 3D movies.
Right.
And then, I don't know, I think everyone hopefully will just, guys like Adam Green and Derek Osman and Rob Zombie, I think as long as we have the true hardcore horror fans continuing to make these movies, if they continue to make the movies that they love, it'll be still a little bit of everything. I don't ever think that it's going to just go in one direction. I think it's constantly going to be changing. So
and
it all
there's room
depends
for
what
everything.
fans want to see.
Yeah. What do you think, Adam? There's room for 3D and
There's
for
room for
all
everything.
different kinds.
It gets disappointing when it all becomes one thing and there's no room for anything else. And for me, that's been troubling about the remakes, because we're living in a time where you can't really bring a project to a big studio unless it's a remake. So all of these great independent movies that are being made, they're kind of condemned to these limited theatrical runs, if they even get a theatrical run, and they live on DVD. And that's fine, but at the same time, there was a time when every weekend there was an original genre movie, and it's hard right now. So I'm happy to see that we've now run out of things to remake. So maybe some original stuff will get a chance, but things like this that are like Monsters that's coming up, not really a horror movie per se, but it's getting a theatrical shot. House of the Devil got a theatrical shot. If the fans will just support it, then everyone's going to say, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should make an original movie. We want to find the next idea, and they'll start looking at original scripts again, but right now they won't do it. So the power is in the hands of the fans, because they want their money. So if the fans are willing to spend money, Hollywood will give them whatever they want as long as they keep paying for it. So if you're tired of remakes, skip the next one and go see something original. Or at least buy the ticket for the original one.
And they're good, perfect.
Adam Green's Hatchet 2.